Dionne, it is so nice to have you today on these thrilling Thursday interviews. Don't know what to call them yet. It's evolving, but I just wanted to get in motion because that's what I help people do. I'm a momentum. Um, someone called Sarah Khan, who will be on this eventually. She said, "You're a momentum catalyst." And I thought, yeah, I help people want to get their stuff done. I help them focus on the right things. But this is not about me today. Thank you so much for showing up for your audience on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for being here so that I can ask you questions so that you can show up for an audience that doesn't know that you exist. And so the first question I want to start with today, Dionne, is what is your unique story and purpose?
I love this question. And I just want to also just thank you for the opportunity to come on stage with you and spend time with you. I think since the moment that I met you, we had like just this connection. And I immediately started calling you my twin because yes, we have locks and we're the same age and there's a lot of things that are similar. But I think more than that, you and I share a heart for others. And we also really enjoy playing with the mind, playing with questions, playing with possibilities, just kind of having that white space to then fill in and then erase. And so I'm excited for this series and I can't wait to be tuning in every Thursday. So I just wanted to start off with that. But to answer your question, purpose is something that I have been looking for my entire life. Like I remember that question that you used to get like when you were a little, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would be so jealous of all the kids that were like, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be this. And I was like, I don't know what I want to be. All I knew at that time was that I loved writing stories. I used to actually write fiction stories in a handwritten notebook and write so much in class that I would write it and then like pass it to my friends and they would read it in class and I would get in trouble. And I loved doing that. But then I changed and I loved doing something else. And then I changed and then I loved doing something else. So when your purpose or when your interest changes, you feel as though your purpose is moving, but it's not. It's just morphing and it's growing. So I think for me, I was on this journey of basically being like, why am I here? How do I want to spend my time? And I think that for me, I had to get to a point where I stopped asking the question, why am I here? But when am I here? Like WEHEN, like when I'm here or while I'm here. Mm-hmm. How do I want to be showing up? How do I want to live? And that was such a more empowering question for me because it was like, I don't know how long I have on this earth. I don't know what my supposed purpose is, but I know that I was created for something and I'm just going to keep showing up for myself. And I think I truly have this desire to experience as much as I can and not like leave anything unturned. And so I had to really accept that part of myself that didn't want to take this linear path, that was okay with taking like the path that was off beaten and being like a pioneer and having to kind of not explain, because I don't typically explain my life, but how to help people see the through line. And I know what my through line is now, but as I was going up in my age, when I was growing up, I had no idea. And it felt very, very frustrating. So for me, I have a heart for telling other people to truly like give themselves grace and to experience life. You have to do it. I tell people all the time, like, you don't know what you don't know. I actually recently had someone ask me a question and they knew that I had, I'm a life coach. And he asked me, he was like, how do you become a life coach? And the first thing that I asked him, I was like, well, have you experienced life coaching? And he hadn't, but he was trying to become a life coach. And I said, in my brain, I was like, how can you be something that you haven't even tried? Like my brain couldn't even connect that was a possibility, or that's how people would think about things. Yeah. And I suggested to him that he just experience it, because once you experience something, you get more data, you get more information. And so often what we try to do is the reverse. We try to get all this data and build up this tall, leaning tower of data, when the only data that matters is us interacting with it and being like, oh yeah, I like this or I don't like this. It's like cooking something and a recipe. It's like, yeah, on paper, this is the recipe, but like your taste buds are different than somebody else's taste buds. And you're only going to know once you taste it. So I feel like to me, I call like purpose kind of like having a purpose tasting. It's like you're just tasting things. And so that's finally have landed where I am very focused on me being the best version of myself. Like I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, I am not who I should have been. Like the thought of that is just so terrifying. And I think part of it has to do with just me getting older as well. I recently turned 40 like 2 years ago. And so like I'm in this next evolution. And so I'm just thinking differently. And my life looks very differently. But I'm also happy that it has unfolded the way that it has, and that I wasn't like looking at this box of check marks that we need, because it's all optional. Like who made this check mark anyway, right? So like I feel like for me, that's been the journey, and I'm still on the journey. So it's you can see that this is still a very loaded question for me, because I'm like, there's so much to say about purpose. Like, what is it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you know the first 40 years have led up to, and who it's formed you to be. It's formed your likes, your dislikes. It's forced you to ask questions. And I love that you want to experience life. And I just wanted to point out that we did not plan this pink thing today.
We did it.
Happened. So these little kisses. What's in store for the next 40 years? Like, how do you plan to take this last 40 to shape the next 40 so that you make them count, experience life, and teach people how to experience their lives, or how it's their lives?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm definitely going to do for the next 40 years is think about myself as that 80-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Because this is what I did when I turned 30 and the opportunity came up for me to be an international flight attendant. And it was kind of like one of these like random things that just kind of like came, like this opportunity kind of came up. And I had to ask myself, I was like, when I'm 80 years old, am I going to regret being an international flight attendant for a couple of years? The answer is no. So I love to have like a longer time view. I love to have like that viewpoint that's just bigger, because you look at time very differently. Like I used to feel very rushed. I used to feel like I needed to do everything right away, right now, because there's just so much time. Like I'm so behind. Like I don't know if anybody else has felt like a late bloomer. Like I definitely felt like a late bloomer. So like I'm just so behind. I just have to. And I was like, you know what? Like, okay, if I have another 40 years to get this, then I'm like, oh, I have a lot of time actually. Like I have way more time than I think. And so I had to ask myself, okay, I have a goal to be like a multimillionaire. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, Dionne, like, okay, if you knew that you were going to get there in 5 years, would you be okay with getting there in 5 years? The answer, of course, is yes.
Right.
Right. And so I'm like, okay, so are you going to allow your choices to change based on developing the skills and developing what I need, so that when I do get to that point, I'm ready? That is the frame that I'm in now. It's like, what are the skills that I actually need? Like, what am I missing in my toolkit? And this is where my framework for reality-based decision making comes from, because a lot of times we're making these decisions, but we're not taking a holistic, these are the areas that I'm not great in.
Yeah.
These are the areas that are going to actually help me. These are the areas that I need to develop. These are the kind of like the help that I need to get. These are potentially the pathways that I need to go on. What looks like it could be taking a step back could actually be putting you 3 times forward, depending on different combinations of what reality looks like for you and what's important to you. And so I've been very mindful to appreciate that I'm going to do things on a longer time frame, and it's making me have different choices, but it's also allowing me to dream bigger, because since I know that I'm going to have the time to implement it, I'm not actually thinking small. It's like, oh, I have a lot, so I have a lot to do, but because I am pushing myself to go after that, I'm going to reach it. But it's kind of like a trick of the mind. So I the answer to your question is that I don't know what the next 40 years are going to entail, but I know that I'm going to be asking my 80-year-old self every step of the way, and I'm going to get closer to that life. Because like dream life is that I am able to, of course, change the world.
Right.
But more than that, it is to live and
Mhm.
live like live unapologetically and live with abandonment, just let it all happen. And I
Mhm.
think that until you get to a point of true surrender, um, you can't really live that free. And I know that I'm not there yet, and that's the work right now. Yeah.
This is so amazing. I love the way. So you talked about us twinning, and this just. I think that's an understatement. I think you're the female version of me. I love it, and I'm like the male version of you. And you ask such great questions. Like I want to become, with the brand I have, Question Everything, as good of a questioner as you. You seem to have these questions that you use that help you move from that 5% of conscious mind to the 95%, so that what you do is on autopilot. And so it's a genius way of tricking your mind into getting what you want in life, like ultimate manifestation. And I've been a part of the 48-hour decision making. And when you talk about getting people and other people in momentum, I can make people want to get their stuff done. My mom doesn't call me because she knows I'm gonna make her do something if she's not doing it, right?
Exactly.
So, and you probably deal with this too. So the question I have are like, what you seem to have a lot of really good questions to help move the things out of that. Like when you're trying to do something new, you only have 5% of your brain, your conscious mind to work with, and that's there for survival.
Yeah.
Not the other 95 is on autopilot, so that you don't have to think about doing those things. And that's why it's so hard to change. So what kind of questions do you ask yourself?
Yeah. So I do a couple of different layers, and I'm so happy that you got to experience the 48-hour decision sprint, because you mentioned before that you help momentum, and I call it a momentum challenge because that's exactly what it is.
Hmm.
It's like a jump start for like your car, like that imagine, like that imagery, but it's like for you, it's kind of like, okay, you need a jump start. Like you are stalled right now, you need to jump. And the reason that I love it is because 48 hours is the perfect amount of time. Like 24 hours, your brain is still kind of on it. And then after you sleep on it, after you primed your brain, so many things just start coming into place. But what I tell people to do in the sprint is that you have to first decide the area. And I use my framework of the 5 energy leaks, which are money, relationships, mental, physical, and environment, to kind of shape what my mind is thinking of, because it's a gut reaction. Like if I tell somebody right now, like, what do you feel like is your biggest energy leak? Somebody would tell me like, oh, it's money, or oh, it's my relationships, because it's whatever is most urgent in your spirit.
Yeah.
And what I've realized that until you take care of that, until you take care of your mammalian brain, that the nervous system, you're not able to think beyond just the right now and in the moment. So you have to acknowledge where you are. Again, it's that reality-based decision making. You have to acknowledge where you are and honor that, and make sure that your brain understands that you are making movement in that area, even though it's small. But if
Yeah.
your brain knows like, oh, you're taking care of this, okay, I can relax, then now it frees up mental space so that you're able to then focus on the deeper things. You're able to ask the better questions because your brain is not fixated on these other questions that are more urgent. And so that's part of why I do it. It's kind of like people don't kind of understand like why I have them do things in a certain way, but that's really the magic sauce. And it's the thing that a lot of people miss. Another thing that I really do is I love to think upstream. So what that means is that I'm always thinking about the end. There is a fable that I love, or a story that I love, where it's these two people that are walking along a creek, and they keep seeing these children that are like floating down the river, and they're like, where are these children? And so one person is like, I'm gonna go save these children, and he goes and he runs into the water and starts pulling the children out. And then he calls to his friend, and he's like, where are you going? Because a friend just starts walking off. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna go and see where the kids are being dropped off, and I'm gonna stop it there. Like, you can keep trying to go in the river, and keep grabbing the kids, but I'm going to go at the source, right? So my brain is always like, where's the source? I don't care about these little tiny things. It's like that will get taken care of if I'm able to get to the main source.
Yeah.
So when I'm having conversations with people, I'm always asking them, what are you ultimately trying to do? Even today, I had a conversation with someone, and they were asked me for a something that would allow them to extract words out of a PDF. And I gave them a tool because, like, I'm a tool person. That's just my thing. I love, I love, treasure hunting on the internet for all the tools. Like I have 10 million at a time. You can ask me at any time. And so I gave her that. And then it ends up turning out that she wanted to find this very specific thing to see if it was in the PDF. And I was like, we could just put this in ChatGPT and literally ask ChatGPT, is this thing here? And have it to pull out those resources. And she was going to do the long way of trying to export all the different texts and try to read like all of these things. And I was basically like, the next time, please just come to me and let you know what you're trying to accomplish. If I know what you're trying to accomplish, it is so much easier for me to actually skip steps 2 through 7 and just get you from 1 to 8, because I'm able to understand these other things don't matter. And so it's really asking better questions. Yes. I actually had a experience where somebody actually asked me to help them kind of audit their decision-making journal that they had. And one of the questions that was posited there was to frame your decision as a yes and no. And I had such a hard time doing that. Like my brain could not even wrap around it. Why? Because to me, asking yes or no, do you want to do this, is the last step, not the first step. So I think about it in the inverse, because I'm basically like, I don't want to know if I need to ask this question if I'm potentially asking the wrong question. So I have to do all the other thinking first. I have to understand how this fits into my life. I have to understand all these other things. And then the question becomes, is this still relevant? Is this something that I should be doing? Instead of being like, should I get married? I don't know if I should get married yet. Let me think about the other areas of my life. Let me think about other things first. And I feel like that's the one thing that people don't do. And maybe it just becomes naturally to me. And I think that that is a special skill that I have. But I just look at the world a little bit differently. So I'm able to ask different questions. And I think that's why my coaching is really effective at times, because even the questions that I ask, it's kind of like a pattern interrupt. That's what a lot of people say. It's like, you kind of like break my brain. And I'm just asking questions, but I'm just seeing it a little bit differently, because I know that whatever you're asking on the surface is not really the question. It is always 3 or 4 levels deep. And so I'm going to the deeper levels, and I am just skipping all of those shallow steps, because one, our spirit man knows, our heart knows, but we also aren't always ready yet. And so we'll stay in the rumination, and we'll stay in asking the wrong questions, and we'll stay in having these conversations instead of really just digging in and getting real with ourselves. Right. And so for me, my questions are based in, what are we really trying to solve for? What is real here? And I feel like that gets you like 50%, 80% there. Yeah.
The efficiency of your question asking, like the number of steps you take away by just asking, like, where do you want to be in the end? Like that's incredible. And it makes me wonder. I know you mentioned the 5 energy leaks. Now I know them, you know them, right? The 48-hour decision making, the fact that you just want to help shortcut people to where they need to be, and figure out like how to cut off all the fat, right? Trim the fat. So what is the philosophy that you use, or that you're going to use, to change the world?
Yeah. So I'm calling it like my warrior, because I'm in the process of developing my warrior university. And it's going to be so cool. Like, I can't wait for people to experience it, because I'm actually having different levels. Like, you're going to be a freshman, senior, nice. Master's, graduate level. Like, you're going to have to go up there, because not everybody is going to be at the same level. But it really, honestly, is about mental toughness. That is the through line. Like, I truly believe that it is you versus you.
It is.
That it's you versus you. So if you strip away everything else, you are going to be the one that you have to beat. Because you are the one that is with you every single second of the day. You are the one that knows your entire story from beginning to now. Nobody else knows all the details except you. So you cannot lie to yourself. I guess this is why I'm so big into the reality base, because we often lie to ourselves. And our
Right.
brain is not stupid. Our brain is like, huh, I know you. Okay, ignore. And it's going to go back to that pattern that it's used to, because it knows that that's what you really want,
Right.
because that's what you've been focusing on. And
Right.
what we focus on is just a signal to our brain that this is what we want. And so this is why it is so hard to change. This is why habit change is hard. This is why making decisions is hard. This is why everything is hard, because until you decide and realize that you are in a battle with your mind every single day, and there is no letting up. There is no day that you are not going to be having a battle with your brain. There are going to be thoughts that you have. They're going to be countercultural to the you that wants to have that ending in 40 years.
Yeah.
And so every single time that moment comes up, you have a choice to make. Am I going to choose what is best for me now, or what is best for the future me? And I actually separate out my mind. Like, I'm always talking about past Dionne, present Dionne, future Dionne, because it helps me to be like, okay, I also believe that, like, when we are born, we are gifted with the blessing and the honor and the responsibility of taking care of a human, and that human is us. And so I actually, like, kind of remind myself that I am taking care of a human. I have to make sure my human is fed. I have to make sure my human has entertainment. I have to make sure my human doesn't stay up at night. Like, you really have to parent yourself, even though it's not parenting yourself. But if you think about it, that's
It
what you have
is.
to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to have a community of people who understand the assignment, that this is what it is. And so we're able just to get to work. And I am someone that, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you think about it, I never did group sports. I never did anything that really had to force me to do what I didn't want to do. I didn't have to wake up at 4 a.m. to go do burpees and run. I never had a like, I've never been training for like a to climb Mount Everest or do these. Like, I just have never had to put myself through kind of rigorous physical training, that mental training. And so this is what the Warrior University is. It's like, you are going to be a warrior. You know, you're going to go from being a warrior to a warrior, O and A, because that, yeah, yeah, the
That's
warrior
good.
to warrior. Because that is a transformation. And I basically want to be like, oh, we're a warrior, we're tough, like, we're fighting. Because I literally had the worst, lowest moment of my life in the beginning of September. The lowest. My brain was fighting me to the point where I literally was just like, why am I even here? Like, what is the point of all of this? Like, I just want to give up. Like, this is da-da-da. And I had to literally these tough conversations with my brain for days. And it was finally when my brain was like, oh, okay, you're fighting for this. Like, you are really focused on okay, well, then I'm going to have to get on gear here. And then it was literally like, okay, finally, you're on board. So all of this, like, tiptoeing, all of this 1 foot in, 1 foot out, all of this, it was like, okay, if you're drawing a line in the sand, I'm going to be drawing a line in the sand.
Right.
And my brain and I got on the same wavelength. A lot of times we're not on the same wavelength, right? Because we don't, again, recognize that that's what's required. So for me, to answer your question, like, it really is this framework that I have in my brain, that it is you versus you.
Yeah.
And when that is the framework, then you approach things differently. It's not an adversarial relationship, but it's basically like, there's going to be one of you that is going to win in that moment. And what do you want to have as a leaning, as the one that's bigger, the one that's getting stronger, the one that has more strength?
Yeah, and it reminds me of two things. The which wolf do you feed? And then Stephen Pressfield talks about, in The War of Art, there are the gap between who you are now and who you want to be.
Yeah.
What stands in that gap is resistance. And we have to bring the body, like, let the body being in action beat the brain into submission, because the brain is here for survival.
Yeah.
And then the two wolves, right? there are two wolves that live inside of you. There's a good wolf and an evil wolf. Which one lives? It's the one that you feed, right? I am the greatest example. I was in a dark spot too, multiple times in the last 5, 10 years. Actually, the last 40 years, there's always this time where I find myself in a place where I'm like, what is even my purpose? Right.
Yep.
And it always comes from focusing on what's wrong, what I don't want, what's, like if I believe in my potential to take action, I will get a result that further confirms the belief in my potential to take another action. But if I don't believe in my potential, I won't take action, which will confirm and give me results that I shouldn't believe in my potential to take any action, which can. So it's I'm either going to be rolling forward or rolling backwards, but there's no stagnant. There's no thing. You're not standing still ever. You are either moving forward or you're falling behind. Now, Dionne, you are wise beyond your years. And I'm so grateful, seriously, like speaking from my heart here, that you finally broke out of that. You snapped out of it and you realized that it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about the audience that needs the you that only you can give them. There's no one else that can. You have an audience that only you can reach. A group of women or men.
Yeah.
That only can hear their message from you. I can't reach them. And vice versa.
Yeah.
So what is one thing? Just one thing. If there was just one thing you wanted people to know, if they heard nothing else today, what is that one thing?
You have more in you.
Oof.
That you literally are only at 40% of your energy. That whatever you think is your best, you are far below what you should be. And that is, again, the reality coming in, because if you truly tried, if you really pushed yourself, like, if you've pushed yourself to the limits, if you have really gone to the depths, like one of my favorite movies is Gattaca. It stars Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke. And in that movie, there is a scene where there's two brothers that race each other in the sea. And they always go race each other to this buoy out in the sea. And the movie is constructed where they are children that are kind of born in two ways. One is like the natural way, and one is kind of like the preferred, genetically engineered kind of way. And so both of the brothers, one is each. And the brother that's natural, without any kind of special, testing of the splices of the DNA, he always would win. He always would win. And the other brother was like, how do you do it? Like, I know I should be better than you. Like, I am better than you. Like, I was created to be better than you. Like, how are you doing this? And the other brother that was I don't remember the names, but the other brother that was like done the natural way, he was letter like, you always saved energy for the trip back. I never did. And so that to me is what this is. It's like, why are you saving energy? Why are you going at 40%? Why are you acting like you need to be in idle mode? Like, what are you saving for? Like, why? Like, you can rest when you get there. You can rest and then come back. But like, why are you not even going full out to see how far you can go, to see how fast you can go? It's like, that resonates with me. That is what pushes me. That's why I'm like, Dionne, no, you have more in the tank. I'm telling myself all the time, like, you have more in the tank. Go. Yeah.
You have more in you. Stop playing on low battery mode. Like, literally, I don't know if I know we differ in this. You have a MacBook, but you don't have an iPhone.
Yeah.
Cool. It doesn't matter. It's just a freaking brand. They both do the same thing. But I know on iPhone, because that is what I have, that there is this low battery mode that you can turn on that will help preserve your battery. That's what people are doing right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Android
has it too, by the way. But yes, that is what people are doing.
Okay, good.
We are numbing ourselves purposely, literally, with the devices that we use, with what we watch, how we don't move our bodies. We are literally self-inducing ourselves into a waking coma.
Yeah.
And it's by design that our brains love it, because we want to reserve energy. Like our brains have not caught up to the technology. And so like we are literally are making it a reality so that our brain again is ruling. So our brain is like, yeah, let me be tired. Let me just sit here. Let me just watch this TV. Let me just do this thing. Like, yeah, that feels like a good idea. Let me just sit here. Let me like we literally create all of our activities to sit around and watch the TV, to sit around and eat food, to sit around. Like we literally like that's what we do automatically. You look like a crazy person if you're not the one doing that, but I'd rather be crazy than like live in this sick world as far as like the kinds of things that are important. So for me, that's what I want people to understand. It's like if you feel like you are leaving things in your tank, if you hang out with me, you'll be going at 110%. Because I'm not going to let you do anything else. Like I'm intense. People who've talked to me and worked with me, that's the one thing that they say. They're like, you're intense.
Girl.
But I'm intense in a good way. Like I'm intense in a motivating way. I'm intense and like, let's go. I'm here. Like I'm ready. Like one of the things I'm really excited about is I'm doing an Energy Leaks party every Sunday, starting this upcoming Sunday, where at 7 p.m. Central, we're going to be meeting and having an energy leak party. And that means 5 minutes where we start just with introduction. And then we spend 10 minutes focusing on our mental energy leak, and then 10 minutes on our physical, and then in 10 minutes on like our money, we get to all of it. So within an hour at the start of your week, you already are starting off primed with momentum to already have momentum in those areas that you can then continue. But there's like a turbo mode of that where I'm going to be starting that like soon, where at 6 a.m. we're going to be having our energy leaks morning hour, where like every 6 a.m. you're showing up. You got to show up, and we're going to be doing that every single 6 a.m. So like, if that sounds fun to you, then you're my type of person. Because I'm the type of person that's like, I want to go live at a farm. Like I want to do hard labor. Like I literally want to push myself beyond what I feel is possible, because that is the only way that I can accomplish the biggest dreams that I have for myself. Because if I know I can do that, then it's like, I know I can do anything. Right. Yeah.
Girl, yes. That's like the Tony Robbins talks about it all the time, priming, right? So ice cold, or you take a cold shower. There's the Wim Hof breathing method. There's things that, and we share a similar philosophy here. So I remember seeing a quote that was Eleanor Roosevelt, do one thing every day that scares you. And I didn't think anything scared me. And then I tried to go eat in public and realized I didn't want to go eat alone. I need someone to go with me. Why though? I had to really think about that. Why is that? Because I'm afraid that someone's going to be judging the way I chew, or there's something that I'm afraid of. And then I realized I'm afraid of everything. And this was back in 2008. And that quote evolved for me over time. It became, if anything scares you, face it head on so that nothing stands in your way. I can't tell you the prison that is fear, right?
Yeah.
Like,
ooh,
I'm leaving gas in the tank and living on low battery mode, trying to optimize my battery for a future outcome that I may not even have if I don't use the battery I have now. And so when you say, gosh, I got sidetracked. I'm intense for the right reasons. Help me here. Where were we?
yeah. I mean, like I was just saying that, like, I was talking about like my energy leaks mornings, that I'm getting up and doing that.
Doing the hard things. Thank
you.
So you take a cold shower first thing in the morning. When I'm feeling at the worst and I don't want to do anything, I make myself get in the shower, and I don't turn it on and then hesitate. I get in and turn it on myself, and I hold the little shower head. It's like, it's just, oh my gosh, why are you doing this? But I guarantee you, there's nothing at all that is going to come at me the rest of my day that is going to be as bad as that. And the earlier you can do it, the better.
Yeah.
Bonus points if you can do it in the winter, because it's easy to do in the summer. It's going to heat up.
Yeah, it's already hot. Like,
right.
That's a cool breeze. Yeah.
But in the winter, it's already cold. You don't even want to get out the bed. You don't want to take your nice warm PJs off. Do it then. And then everything is easy, right? So I love that that's your philosophy. I love that that's the one thing you want people to know. There's more in you. Thank you for sharing that. Now, the last question I have for you, and it's not where can people find you, because I think that's so superficial, right? My socials, here's go follow me on all platforms. How do you wish people would connect with you?
Yeah. I wish that people would connect with me in co-working sessions
Oh,
where we are getting together and we are co-working together. I use Flow Club. And I love it. I was just hosting like several ones today, and I was with people from all over the world. Like it's my most favorite thing to do. So like if you want to, I basically want to frame it like this. Like if you want to come to, like, let's imagine like I'm having a party. And
mhm.
if you want to get an invite to my party, you have to be somebody that is going to show up, and you're not going to be the type of person that is just sitting around and waiting on the outs, like the outside. You're going to be the person that comes. You're going to be the person that's like, hey, I'm here. I brought this to the table. I brought this to the party. You're going to be the person that is going to play a game that they've never played before, that
Mm,
is going to talk to somebody that they never talked to, that is willing to put themselves in a situation that is potentially scary, but they're willing to see what happens. And they are willing to kind of just take on the adventure of life. And so I'm hanging out in a lot of places online. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm getting started in Instagram and TikTok. I feel like that's still where the young kids are. I know I'm not that old, but I feel like I'm a little, I need to get hip to that. But those are the kind of conversations that we're going to be having. Those are the kind of things that we're going to be doing. So if you kind of want to come to that party, then I'm inviting you to find me. But otherwise, this might not be the party for you. So that's kind of how I wanted to.
ooh, girl. He said, this is who it's for. This is who it's not for. Do with it as you wish, as you may. And I just want to show you what you did here. I don't even think you realized it. What you want. I said, how do you wish people to would connect with you? And you gave me the how. You want honest people, people that are honest with themselves about what they do want, who they are. You want people that are open-minded, and you want people that are willing. That's how they need to connect with you, right?
Yeah.
Just beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so grateful that kicking this off, this thrilling Thursday
I love
interview.
it. I feel so honored to be the first. I love being the first. Yeah.
So thanks for kicking it off. I'm going to suggest that they connect with you on LinkedIn because you are making ripples. The fastest growing LinkedIn I've ever seen since I've been on LinkedIn. And I thought I was doing things, but
I'm
goodness.
having a fun time. I literally am in a challenge right now where I'm posting every single day or close to every single day. I'm posting 365 times before I like take a break. So
Oh,
I'm going to be there. And what you're going to get is you're going to get more of this conversation, exactly what it is right now. Like that, I want to do challenges to myself and I want to do reminders to myself. So it's basically like I'm doing a journal of like my mental toughness journey and inviting others along. Yeah.
you are. And just the most recent thing I saw was the Zatarans, right? The search for red beads and rice. Like it's just the little granular things, but I'm seeing the engagement. I was engaged. I'm invested in it. I'm like, wow, this is how people should be interacting on LinkedIn. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dionne, for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching. If I have not connected with you, I would love to connect with you. I'm actually doing a project that's called the 100 People Project, where I'm trying to talk to 100 people. And when I reach 100, I'll reach 100, but I want to talk to just 100 people, just have conversations. I'm prioritizing those that are going through a hard time, that are sad, depressed, potentially, suicidal, whatever. I want to talk to you. I want to be a safe place for you. So I just want to offer that. Like my door is always open and there's no selling or pitching, anything like that. It's just little conversations. Yeah.
I love that. Reach out because you know you need to. You know there's more in you. And I don't even, I can't even, I'm just going to drop the mic there.
Yeah, I think we could just do a mic drop. I think we
Yeah,
can just say, you know what, I guess if I want to say anything was that like based on this conversation, there's something that is still ringing in your mind. Don't let it just ring in your mind. Do something about it.
that part. Thank you,